Welcome to The Line. The city of Santa Fe is considering a proposed change to its public campaign finance structure, which would let publicly financed candidates for city offices raise additional money. And here in Albuquerque, a different measure called Democracy Dollars was brought this week before the Bernalillo County Commission for the second time in a month. And for the second time, it was voted down. The measure would have put an initiative on the November ballot asking Albuquerque voters to decide on a voucher program to give additional money to publicly funded mayoral and city council candidates. Now, to talk about this and other issues, I'm joined at the table by this week's Line Opinion panelists, starting with attorney Sophie Martin. Jeffrey Candelaria is here. He's owner of Connection Now, LLC, and host of the Jeffrey Candelaria Show on 770 KKOB AM. Daniel Foley's here, former House Minority Whip, and we're welcome back Adrian Carver, Executive Director of Equality New Mexico. Adrian, starting with you, Santa Fe's last mayoral election, the most expensive in the city's history, certainly. Alan Weber pulled it off by, getting a lot of money out there from 25 states, different states, lots of dough out there. I guess my question is, where are we now with this idea? Is this the solution to you limiting folks or increasing folks for $60,000 to compete against people who can raise their own money? Is this the answer?
Look, I think what's happening all across the state is efforts to increase participation in elections and to make sure that everyday people are able to have influence over the way decisions are made at the municipal level. And public financing is all about doing that. And whether it's at the proposal that's being made at the Santa Fe level or what's been happening in Albuquerque, this is all about changing the donor class and making sure that everyday New Mexicans, working people, people who can't write those $250 checks or $5,000 checks to these politicians to participate in that part of the political process.
Jeffrey, interestingly here, it would not disallow private money and PAC money. Does that end up circling back to the same place, or is this the solution?
I don't know. I want to come back to your original question here. For me, it's about legislating equilibrium, and I'm totally against that. I just doesn't.
Describe what you mean by that.
Well, I think in theory it makes sense. Public financing, people getting more engaged, welcoming the average citizen to participate in local elections. But when you execute that effort by giving folks vouchers, I guess we're talking about democracy and dollars there, I think you're legislating equilibrium. You're trying to maintain an equal playing field. And to me, there's a tinge of socialism there. And it bothers me. I picture Alexander Hamilton.
Do you have a problem with the cap? Is that the part of socialism?
Not so much the cap, just the execution as I've seen it laid out.
Okay.
I'm not sure if these vouchers are provided to the average citizen, how is it going to be tracked, distribution, those types of things. I could be wrong, but I picture Alexander Hamilton having a discussion with James Madison, the Federalist, saying we want more government to intervene in our lives.
Right.
So he would probably support public financing, and Madison saying absolutely not. So
I hear you.
I think in theory there are some merits, but in practice, I do have some concerns.
You mentioned, you referenced in passing the Albuquerque portion of our conversation. We'll come back in a quick second. Daniel, the mayoral candidates would get 60,000, city council hopefuls would get 15,000. And raising as much as they want, though, just for private campaigns, again, is it a competitive field? If you've got an Alan Weber redux, let's say, he's just another person out there who can raise a lot of private money. Is 60,000 enough to combat that?
So, I mean, clearly it's not, right? And so what is the dollar amount? I mean, we're going to always be chasing it. So the next mayoral candidate raises $1 million. Are we going to keep raising it?
Right.
It's interesting that the very folks who oppose school vouchers and oppose giving kids a choice to get out of bad schools and go to real schools are now for vouchers for candidates running for office. I mean, at the end of the day, this is probably one of the purest parts of our democracy. You have to go out, you have to sell your ideas to people, you got to get people to help finance you, help fund you, you got to get people to vote for you, and we keep trying to muddy the waters. Go out and get $5 from all these people. We've seen how that's worked in Albuquerque. People are accused of falsifying the $5, giving themselves the $5, getting big chunks of money from individuals for the $5. I mean, at the end of the day, turning around and saying, we don't like the fact that you were able to raise $100,000 and that's why you won. And I also think that this whole conversation about, and like he said when he first started off, this letting people get involved in the process, I take offense to that. I spent 10 years in the legislature and I never looked at my donor list. People who gave me lots of money didn't have more access than people who didn't have who gave me money. I mean, people had access to me based on ideas.
Right.
And so, you know, we worked with people regardless of what people gave us. We didn't tell people no. I mean, it's nobody's missed on the fact that, you know, I was not a fan of labor unions. The labor unions were not a fan of me. You know what? I attended every NEA meeting in my district, went to the NEA, listened to what the NEA had to say, and they had some good ideas and championed some of their causes, worked with them on things. So, I mean, I think this is kind of leading to the whole, you know, the whole average person out there thinking every politician's corrupt, everybody that raises money is a bad person. You know, at the end of the day, if your ideas aren't winning, the answer isn't to figure out how to get the government to give you more money to advance your ideas.
That's a good point. Sophie, the 2-for-1 match is an interesting wrinkle here. Touch on that a little bit.
So, thank you. I was actually about to bring that up. I think that there are two elements that haven't been discussed at the table that I think are important in this proposal. One is that we know that, generally speaking, if you give money, you will vote. And so those small dollar donations are really important to candidates because they're not just saying, I like you, I like your ideas. They're saying, and I've put my money out there and I will vote.
That's a distinction, isn't it?
And
it really
so
is.
it gives the candidates, I think, an opportunity to bring more people into that equation. Now, it sounds like anyone can vote. Of course, you would vote, but there is something sort of magical in the giving and then the commitment to vote. And so I think as it's an interesting idea in terms of a get the vote idea. The other thing, though, with the match is it allows for a certain amount of distinction amongst candidates. So if you have a candidate who qualifies for who qualifies for public funding, but isn't really going to get any further than that,
Right.
and you have a person who is on fire and who's going to get a lot of support and who potentially could have raised quite a bit more, the match allows the funding to be adjusted in order to reflect you're a live wire, you have a real shot here.
Right.
You not so much, and so it allows more money to come into public funding without putting it in places where people maybe are not going to make it. And I know that's harsh,
Sure.
but it is the donor, it is the voter who decides this person is somebody that I feel I can get behind, this person not as
I got one
much.
more Santa Fe point. We'll swing to Democracy Dollars in Albuquerque. Interestingly, you think about the 2014 race that Javier Gonzalez won. All through those people that ran for that seat took public finance money, but the PAC money that came in from Mr. Gonzalez
Huge.
was
Yeah.
enormous. And we've got a quote from Renee Villarreal, who's the co-sponsor of the bill, said changes in public financing would, quote, control the flow of who's getting in. It's one way to dissuade PACs from forming. Is that naive?
I think that's
insane.
I don't think that's correct.
Right.
With all due respect, I
Please.
don't think
Yeah.
that's
Creates more dark packs. I mean, that's you're putting them down the road of saying, you know, which we've seen now. I mean, the parties have become completely useless in elections now
Right.
on both sides. But what is third-party expenditures. I
Right.
mean, now they're off the charts, and now you don't know who's supporting who. You see a campaign commercial, and it's Citizens for Clean Government. You get done watching the ad, and you're like, are they for
Yes.
drilling oil and gas? Are they not for drilling oil? I'm confused. I don't know
good
who's
point.
who.
And I can't imagine a world where the founding fathers that you mentioned would support something like Citizens United. And so we have to stand up against these deep-pocketed donors who are going to come in and fight against the interests
I'm troubled by that.
of the everyday people.
I feel it's free enterprise, and I tend to side on that area, on the free enterprise side of things. And if a person doesn't have a message worthy enough of garnering enough funding, well, let the market determine that. But I do, on the other hand, so this isn't an absolute issue for me. On the other hand, I do, in theory, respect the merits of public finance, engaging your constituents. Because if I want $25 from you, I've got to engage with you.
That's right.
I've got to have conversation. I think that's
But you're not
meritorious.
prevented from getting the $25 from people today.
I get
mean,
that.
I raised a bunch of
I
money
get
that
that.
were $5 and $10
I get that.
donors.
But I think in theory, some of the theoretical points that side makes, public financing, makes some sense.
Right.
Precluding out-of-state money, all of that. But on the other hand, if I'm a candidate and I get some money from someone in New York City because they believe in a policy that could affect them based on business, why not?
Let's swing to Democracy Dollars here. What happened, Adrian, in your view, that this went down for a second time? It seems like a reasonable approach. Seattle does it. What happened here?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is no secret that there's bad actors on the county commission. 28,000 people signed this petition in support of the initiative. It's a classic example, again, of well-connected people with deep pockets standing in the way of civic reform. These are people who have signed a petition asking for something to change. This initiative is all about changing turnout, making sure that the abysmal turnout, I think it was 30% in the past mayoral election.
If that, right.
Turnout doesn't reflect the racial and income diversity of the city in Albuquerque. It's 68% white, about 68% over 50. And so again, this is about making sure that working people, everyday people have a chance to participate.
Adrian mentioned those 28, a little about 20,000 confirmed. That meets the threshold. It'll be on the ballot here in the city since the commission has kicked it back. Now, I'm interested in your opinion about this because, it seems interesting to just give everyone eligible to vote a $25 voucher to do with as they would. Fundamentally, but we had a problem with this idea of log rolling. Talk about that, if you will. That was a problematic issue for the county commission.
Sure. So log rolling is periodically brought up as a concern about a piece of regulation or law. So the concern is that the sponsors have put together popular and unpopular, potentially popular and unpopular provisions together, and then the hope is that the popular provisions will pull the unpopular ones along.
Right.
So the question, I think, is how distinct really are these? We had an earlier log rolling complaint from Attorney Pat Davis.
That's right.
On an earlier issue before our commissioner, our city council, I can't remember right now. But Judge Shannon Bacon said, you know what, that's not what we're looking at here.
Right.
It seems like a popular way for opponents to basically say, well, it's not going to get through anyway. I'm concerned about county commissioners saying, we don't want to enact anything that we think is subject to a legal challenge.
Thank you.
Because let's
Thank
face
you.
it, everything is
Thank you.
potentially
Yes.
subject to a legal challenge, and we
Yes.
need them doing their job.
That's right. Dan, pick up on that if you would. The idea that we hear Pat has done this before, as Sophie mentioned, he did it again, but this idea of log rolling. And it gave the commission a little wiggle room to get out of this, it seemed to me. Would you agree with that? They were
Well,
not
I think
so
you gave them
inclined.
cover. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the problem is back to kind of our beginning conversation. People are afraid to tell you how they really feel about things, right? Because there's going to be all this backlash. I mean, 20,000 people in Bernalillo County. It sounds great. We got almost 1 million people in Bernalillo County. So I mean, it's not. It's they make it sound like there's only 50,000 people live in the county. I mean, there's almost 1 million people in Bernalillo County. So I mean, at the end of the day, we've got a crime problem that's out of control. We've got behavioral health problems throughout the state. We're going to talk about one in Taos, but we have a problem in Albuquerque. We have a homeless problem in Albuquerque. We have a school problem in Albuquerque. And somehow people believe the answer to solve all these problems is to now come up with a $25 voucher and give every person that's eligible to vote this $25 voucher so that we can all sit around and at the end count the vouchers and see who got the most vouchers and see who's got money. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, you have the opportunity to get your ideas out there.
Right.
Nobody is stopping you in a city race or a county commission race, and we have people. The city council and the county commission have a good disparity, have a good group of folks that make up different ethnicities within this community. I mean, it's just these are all just red herrings. It's people who have an agenda that want to say they're do-gooders, and they're going to force their agenda down your throat.
There you go. We'll have to wrap that there. When we come back to the line, we'll look at how the loss of the Tri-County Services Organization will affect behavioral health care in the Taos area.